Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call to order this regularly scheduled Board of Trustee meeting on April 24th, 2014 at 5:30 p.m. We have before us an agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda before us?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add Hines Community College VOTEC budget to the executive session, please.
So we can just add that as part when we're discussing the agenda for executive. Okay, closed session. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing as none, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the agenda for Thursday, April 24th.
Second.
We have a motion properly second to accept the agenda. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Seeing as none, motion carries. First item on the agenda, Vicksburg High School Action Plan. McDonald?
Yes, sir. At this time, we're currently moving forward with the current plan that's in place. We didn't make any adjustments for this month. What we did do was shift the focus in the classroom a little bit, where we focus more on SATP prep, but the current plan is currently in place.
Any questions? Do we have a state here to present, or they know? Did you have any comments or want to?
Well, we're basically pleased with what they're doing at the school right now, and things are not exactly as we were looking at in the action plan, because of the fact that, as you're aware, there were a lot of changes in terms of our ability to assist them, and there were some adjustments that were made. We definitely do think that they're making some progress, particularly on goals 1 and 3, on those two goals.
And we'll work next year to.
I've already talked with Mr. Keeley and Ms. McDonald, and one of the focuses next year is going to be making this TSC thing work a little bit better than the process that went on this year. That's one of the main ones that goes both for the district and for the school next year. Developing a high school model for that, and I'll let them elaborate some more on that. But the TSC part did not go as smoothly as anybody had wanted it to go. Nonetheless, they are doing things that are utilizing data, and overall, I think it's an improvement.
Thank you. All right. Next item, introduction of visitors and guests. Coach Stevens, can you handle that for us?
Thank you, Mr. President. It gives me great honor and pleasure to talk a little bit and introduce some great young people in our district. First off, I'd like to ask Mr. McDonald to come over to the podium. Coach Deli Robinson. Coach Deli Robinson is a team now, and Miss Hazel Robinson, please. Also, Kevin Carter, and also Troy Stewart. That's our basketball team for Vicksburg High, and Coach Robinson took a team that achieved all the way to the state championship, and it was really a testimony of David versus Goliath. Coach Robinson and I go way back. Coach Robinson, All-American Hall of Fame at all from State University. All from State University. So I don't want to get Coach upset, but they're going to come to you and introduce the players, and on a job that the city, Vicksburg Warren School District is very proud of. Coach Robinson.
Let me just say good evening, and on behalf of Vicksburg High School basketball team, our principal, Ms. McDonald, our coaching staff, we just thank y'all for letting us be here today and recognize us. And at this time, we're going to ask the players to come and introduce themselves to you. And they could tell you about themselves if they want to, but definitely introduce themselves to you. And, you know my lovely wife, Hazel.
Behind every good man.
everybody. My name is Kelvin Carter.
I'm Troy Stewart.
I'm Shakir Brace. Kenneth Murphy. Justice Trey Blackmore.
Chris Ward. Devontae Briscoe.
Stephon Young. Rashard D. D'Angelo Reese.
Ken Johnson.
Derek Ward.
I'd like to say if you didn't get the opportunity to watch these young men play, you missed a treat. They are spectacular athletes and brought a lot of excitement everywhere they went, and we are very proud of them. Did a fantastic job this season. Thank you for coaches.
With a record 19-9. Now, our second group, undefeated young ladies, that's a great privilege. That's a great honor to go undefeated in anything. And our little six champs, and I'm proud of these ladies, and I'll have Coach Mr. McGee and Coach Info. How you pronounce that, Coach? M-Finger and Latoya Lumpkin come forward and introduce these young ladies. They went through a season and went 19-0.
Coach Stevens, thank you for inviting us to the board. Thank you. Mr. Stevens, thank you so much for inviting us. We have a special group of young ladies that we're very proud of. Like Coach Stevens said, they are undefeated champions, 19-0, and it's been about 3 decades since our young ladies have brought the Little Six Championship to Warren Central Junior High School. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Coach Empfinger to introduce her staff and also our young ladies.
Like I said, this is the Little Six Conference Champions for the 8th grade basketball. First of all, I want to tell y'all it was a fun season, a fun ride. I've been doing this a long time, and it's probably one of the funnest years that I've ever had. And great group of girls. I predict probably in 3 years we'll be going to the big house to see them play. First of all, Coach Lumpkin and Coach Heather Casey. And we have another coach that helps us out, Coach Lee Bell, but he has a second job, so he had to work tonight. If y'all would just stand when I call your name. Asia Sims. Jasmine Banks. Ariel Smith. Caitlin Morrison. Sharius White. Shakayla Ross. T.T. Sims. Raven Thompson. Dee Dee Caldwell, Daisy McGloster, Triana Watts, Ernestine Chin, Joy Grant, Donshay Harris, Ronjanae Hill, Zaria Jackson, and we have one young lady that's not with us tonight, Coco Fultz, because she's played in the playoffs in softball. From what I hear and what I see, she's the best outfielder they had, so she had to go with them tonight. So we do miss her, and this is our Little Six. I too just want to say thank y'all for allowing us to come and be a part of this. Thank you for all your support.
Good evening.
My name is T.T. Sims. On behalf of our basketball team, we would like to thank the school board and Mr. Sheedy for recognizing us tonight for our accomplishments. Thank you.
What a great group of young men and women. My only complaint about the young ladies is I think every one of them is taller than me. And they're only 8th grade.
Equally impressive. It was one of the greatest things to see y'all come together as a team and watch y'all play. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of basketball season. I was sad when it was over, but I got to see some incredible basketball, and the ladies did a fantastic job, and I'm awful proud of y'all.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to the wonderful comments we're hearing from everyone, I think it's very impressive that the boys and girls, there are no dropouts in this group. They all are doing well in school, some better than others. But I think sports is a great avenue for projecting the image of Vicksburg throughout the state of Mississippi. And as we win and show that we're ladies and gentlemen when we go to other towns, that's what the school system's all about. So we thank you and keep up the good work.
Next on our agenda, minutes from our previous meeting on March 22nd.
Have a comment.
One thing, Mr. President, I can't not go any further without giving a shout out for a great organization, and that's our transportation specialists.
That's right.
They had the annual banquet, and they also a memorial for all the bus drivers that are deceased that have drove bus for us. So I was really impressed with that. I really enjoyed myself. Sometimes the little people get unnoticed. They do a great job. I mean, when we got our children out the house in the morning at 6 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning to get on a bus, and that bus driver would take charge and bring them back to us in the evening safe and sound. That's a great job. And it's a thankless job sometimes, but right now, part of the board, we would like to say thank our transportation specialist for a job well done.
It was a wonderful event that we had on Saturday, and you know, just to echo your words, they are the first ones and the last ones to see our children. They set the tone for the day, and they set the tone for those children going home, and we couldn't do it without them. And they are the unsung heroes of our district, and we do appreciate them for all that they do, and we don't always take time to recognize them, so I agree, we do need to take time to recognize those bus drivers. So parents, you know, sometimes when I drive my children around, and I only have 3, I realize how hard it is to listen to the one complaining that his brother won't stop breathing and won't stop touching him. And can you imagine driving a busload of our children, our prized possessions, every day, and being able to do the wonderful job that they do? And we need to take time to thank them. So parents, I know that you appreciate them, and administrators and principals. Make sure we take time to thank them for the job that they do. I know Ms. Foreman did a great job, and the other board, other committee members that organized that function.
Ms. Brown also.
There you go. Did a great job. I didn't see you back there, Ms. Foreman. But let me pick on Ms. Foreman while she's here, because Ms. Foreman is the epitome of what a bus driver does for our children. And these bus drivers, we'll get a little emotional here, they take our children to special events, especially like Ms. Foreman does for my children. They spend their own money to buy drinks and treats for them, and they take care of them. Some of them need to take off to go to Dayton on their own time to make sure they support our schools. And it's individuals like Ms. Foreman and the many other great individuals that work in our transportation department that make our schools so successful. So Ms. Foreman and all the bus drivers. And thank y'all so much for what you do. And we appreciate you.
I'd like to add a little bit if I can, since it's not enough to thank them. You need to come see what they do. I will tell you, if anybody's ever owned a business, if you had the culture of family that these ladies and gentlemen do in our transportation department, you would be envious of what you would see, because we had an opportunity to meet this week and find out what our needs are. We got some great things that are coming in our transportation department too. But they have a beautiful memorial that has been created. And if you haven't had an opportunity to go see it, it is on display, and it is beautiful.
And for those who didn't know, the theme was back to the 70s. Was
Rocking the
Rocking the 70s. I have a few pictures of Coach that I might have to release if he doesn't pay me enough. And but it was a wonderful event, and it was enjoyed by all. And thank y'all for what you do, and thank you for inviting us.
Mr. Chairman, we'll call for additions or deletions to the minutes of March 27th and April the 8th. Are there any additions or deletions to our minutes as printed? Not hearing any, I recommend that we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
All those in favor? Those opposed? All right, it's approved. We're now at the point for our superintendent's update and district financials. Mr. Sheehan.
Fantastic. We had, as always, a busy month in the Warren County School District. We had a National Honor Society inductions on March the 31st. We had a citywide parent meeting on the 1st. We had the NSBA conference and robotics competitions in New Orleans. Several of our board members and I were able to go. Words can't express how impressed I was. I'm not sure what I was expecting when I got to the robotics competition, but it was unbelievable what these children do. I cannot put in words how proud I was of our group. We went down there and actually had one of our groups. There was a first-time robotics team that lost one of their members due to sickness during the competition, and one of our members said, "I'll go to that team and help them out." They actually helped defeat us in one of the competitions too. So, it was a teamwork experience that these children will use for the rest of their life. It was incredible, and it's a wonderful experience for them to be able to take part in. We had two leader days. One was at Beaumar, one was at Bovina on the 3rd and the 8th. We did mention that our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Chamber of Commerce has agreed to come alongside us and help support an additional 3 schools towards the Leader in Me for this upcoming year. And we're really excited about that. Dana Road is ready to go immediately. We've begun book studies at Redwood and Beechwood. So we are excited to see what is coming there. I encourage any of you who haven't taken the time to go to our 2 Leader in Me schools to do that, to see what the big fuss is. There are only 3 Leader in Me schools in the entire state, and we have 2 of them right here in our district. And I will, not to let the cat out of the bag, and I'm not a prophet, but I foresee us being the first national lighthouse school will be named right here in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So go by and check them out. They're amazing. Metro Area Superintendent's Annual Spring Meeting. We all got together and rubbed superintendent dust together and fixed all the world's problems. It's not true, but we did hear a lot of updates from the legislature. Briggs finally got out of the cage and was allowed to come back to the real world. A lot of good decisions were made, a lot of choices to keep some bad legislation, and my hat goes off, and I'm going to take the opportunity to commend this man sitting at the side of this board. He fights for education. There are a ton of elected officials out there that do not. There are a lot of them that want to throw rocks at us any chance they get. That man right there has done a lion's share portion of fighting for your children, and I appreciate him for that, even when it's not popular. We had the Mississippi Writing and Thinking Institute. We had a meeting with them to talk about how we can further provide resources for us to be ready for the Common Core, because it's arriving, and we want to be ready and our children be prepared for whatever challenges face us. We also had the Teacher of the Year at the State Department. They asked me to participate as because I was the Administrator of the Year for the last year, to hand out the awards for this upcoming year. And it was great to see that many wonderful minds in one place. And everyone that got up reiterated the fact that teachers make the difference, and teachers with the boots on the ground help our children be successful. We had a Hines Community College Annual Advisory Board meeting last night, and I'm just going to go on record again saying that you have a group of individuals, these 5 folks sitting right here, that are very passionate about what takes place with their children and the money that you spend. And I watch them vehemently protect that and try to continue to move forward in our vocational technologies and at our Hines Community College Vicksburg site. Lastly, we had a visit today from Miss Joselle Cunningham, who is a Washington Fellow. She works with the U.S. Legislature, and she was down at the U.S. Department of Education to poll our teachers. They're taking samples from the needs of what's going on, and Vicksburg was chosen to do that. So we took our Teachers of the Year and had an opportunity for them to come in and voice the concerns and the real needs in education, and it was a wonderful opportunity. It was great to listen to her talk about the heart of the people and how to get that to articulate down. She also shared with us some grant opportunities, which I jump on every one of them with both feet, that we can get. And it was good to hear that there's some money coming down the pipe to help us get ready with technology and with our college and career readiness, which are two of my focuses. So she was here, and it was a wonderful day with her. And that concludes me.
Financial update, Mr. McClung.
For your financial update, I prepared the items that are required by the Department of Education, in addition to some other information that I generally provide at this time. Portion is in the form of charts and graphs, and you'll see the green bar is the first chart I will address. This information is through March 31st, 2014. For ad valorem tax collections for this year, we budgeted a total of $26,260,397. At this point, we've received $24,575,061.73. That's 93.58% of the total budgeted. We have a balance left to receive from April through June of $1,685,335.27. Next page, you'll see a graph of this information comparing the budgeted to the actual that we've received. Next chart is a chart of ad valorem tax collections, and this chart allows you to compare the current year with previous years from 2010 to 2013. You'll note that we have received over on the right-hand side 93.58% of our total budgeted. Next page is a graph that shows you how the money flows into the district from our local tax collections. Chart 3 is a chart of cash receipts for March. It indicates the date we received a specific dollar amount. You'll see on the right totaling $7,104,570.42. Indicated also is a fund where we will record those dollars and both the revenue and expense. You'll see also a description and a source of those dollars. Next, chart 4 is a chart of expenses for district maintenance. That's the main operational fund that we utilize. And you'll see I have those items broken down into categories of instruction, support services, non-instructional. The budgeted amount is $50,495,787, and you'll see a percentage of each of those items. The budget, 58.81% of instruction, 40.95% support, and 0.24% non-instructional, for a total of 100%. And you'll see also actual month-to-date figures and the percentage that we spent of those categories for the month of March. You'll see the actual year-to-date, what we spent, and the percentage, an encumbrance amount, a balance of the budget, and the percentages of the budget and the actual year-to-date. Next chart, 4A. That's a chart that the Department of Education require us to start providing you each month. And it includes actual amounts through March and estimates for April through June in the categories of all the various revenues we get, MAP, ad valorem, master teacher, and others. Also, it shows you the expenses for each month in the categories of payroll, accounts payable, and transfers out. And I've added that item that I mentioned last month, so I wouldn't have to try to calculate a number in my head, which I'm not very good at. I have to have a calculator. But the 7% amount that we would need is $3,874,153. And that is 7% of the $55,345,036 revenue number total. And we have spent $56,348,158. So subtracting the 56 from the 55 and adding the balance that we had at the beginning of the year, you'll see that we have $2,818,571. And if you deduct that from the $3,874,153, you'll note that will be short of that 7% by $1,055,582.
Thank you. Any questions?
Well, that's a few more.
Okay.
Okay. Chart 5 is loans that we made this year and also repaid. And then the last sheet, I believe, is a statement of that we've reconciled our bank statements through February 28th. And the last page is a casino revenue from 1993 through March of 2014. Any questions on the charts and graphs?
Mr. Fun, may I just ask one on the shortage of $1 million? It's grim looking at the $1 million short. What are some of our options that we have?
Well, what's called for when you have that is you could utilize 16th section interest money to bring that to zero, or leave it like it is and end up, and these are estimates the last several months, leave it at $2,818,571, and you have to submit a budget plan that reduces cost enough or raise revenue enough to bring it up to that 7%. That 7% number, the bill that is in, repeals after 2015, but I anticipate that they will pass that again, so that'll still be something that districts have to shoot for, the balance that we need to have.
And we kind of went into our coffer last year to make
Severely. I need to get y'all that chart. I think I gave it to you once before, but I'll get it and redistribute that.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Next item on the agenda for review is item F, which is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda we wish to pull for discussion?
Mr. President, if you would pull item 5, 7, and 8.
And let me make sure unless we're on the same one. That's 5 is travel for Warren Central, state travel curriculum, out-of-state travel curriculum, and North Central ROTC, junior ROTC.
Year 5, 7, 8, yes, would be the, yes, out-of-state travel, out-of-state travel, out-of-state travel.
Any other ones?
Wait, are you calling this one too?
See,
It's on state, that's not right.
no, not C. Thank you.
Any further items for discussion?
13 and 15.
13 and 15, okay.
We'll stay in here. Yeah.
Seeing no further items to pull, currently the consent agenda is as read except for items F, 5, 7, and 8. 13 and 15.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the proposed consent agenda with the exception of 5, 7, 8, 13, and 15.
All right. There's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
The motion to properly second, are you ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Seeing as none, consent agenda is approved. First item up for discussion, Mr. Sturgis, I believe that's yours, would be
Yes, sir.
5.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one quick question on the request for Mr. Blake to travel to Western Kentucky University on the European history. My concern is, does this fit into Common Core, or is this a want or a need, or how does this fit with them going for the European history?
It's to offer a new class, is that right?
Is-
There's no.
It's an AP course.
It's to offer a new AP course, that's right.
One of the trends that we're trying to put in place is dual enrollment in AP courses. All of the districts that exhibit the rating that we want have vast opportunities for that. This was one that was requested by Mr. Creel. I've asked both of our high school principals to look for areas that we can improve the opportunities of kids, and I think this was in response to what they wanted to do with Mr. Blake.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Again, let me ask this question. Does this fit into Common Core?
Yes, everything offered at high school will.
So this is part of the Common Core curriculum?
The AP courses. World history, U.S. history, yes, sir.
This is part of the Common Core. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay. Any further questions on item 5 for discussion? You have a motion?
So moved, sir.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Out-of-state travel for Warren Central High School. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Seeing none, item 5 is, passes. Item 7, out-of-state travel for curriculum.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. On the out-of-state travel, see where we have asked for a grant, and it appears we don't know what we asked for it to do, so we got to go on a conference to find out what we need to do. I'm curious on why would we ask for something? What is the cost? Who's going to pay for it? I'm just flabbergasted at every time we ask for a grant, we got to go on a trip, and we don't have the ammunition to do what we're supposed to do.
Okay. 2 years ago, the district received a grant for literacy. The grant was for over $800,000 for the Vicksburg Field Academy schools and for Beechwood. And this is the end of that grant. The grant ends actually September 30th. The focus of the grant is on literacy. A part of the tools that the schools receive, extended library hours, technology,
books, additional tutorial funds, and all of this was to support literacy. The grant funds also included money for professional development, and this is what this is for. This conference actually, and this is inclusive of 2 of our teachers, the request is, it's actually Common Core based, and it's the best of the writers of anything with literacy internationally. It's housed closely, it's in New Orleans, and that's what the request is. And so the tools learned here on Common Core and on the best practices for literacy will be shared with all of our constituents. And so the bulk of the money, I would dare say at this point, probably about 80% of it has gone directly to the schools through the uses of technology. And so this is not anything, this is not new or something that is not needed.
So if I heard you correctly, it's gonna end in October.
No, it's gonna end in September.
It's gonna end in September, but we
And-
wanna go on a trip right now, something that's gonna end in September.
A part of the
And
grant,
we've already administered this for 2 years, is that correct?
well, a part of the grant requires us to extend the learning with literacy. And actually what we hope to also do, this grant is coming around, the opportunity for an additional grant for the Warren Feeder Academy, Warren Central Feeder Academy is, I've heard that it's gonna open up. It hasn't yet opened up, but when you initially applied for this grant, and I think all the same board members are here, we shared at that time that when the grant came up again, we would apply for it for the Warren Central Feeder Academy. We had to do feeder patterns. The need, based upon the data, reflected that Vicksburg Feeder Academy was the highest priority. That's where we applied for the grant, and that's where the bulk of the funds have been used. And again, when the grant opens up again, and we are watching it closely, we will apply for the same amount of money for Warren Central Feeder Academy. And so a part of us receiving any general funds require that we continue to learn about what the best practices are, which include Common Core, and to share that learning with others. And so that is why we're doing this at this time. The IAL doesn't come around necessarily every year, but this is close. This is in accordance with what we should be doing with this money.
And it says no district funds.
It's not one penny from the district. Everything is from the federal government, which means that we have to also do a report on all of our funding sources, on everything we've done, and sent back into the federal government. And
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for that, but let's say anybody that pays taxes, your funds are being used through the federal government. Let's get that clear. But I'm just saying, we've gone through 2 years, and all of a sudden we need to relearn what we've done for 2 years. Is that what you're telling me? Or are you trying to learn something different? Are we assured we're going to get the open grant that's out there? Because, or are we just trying to use up the money? Is that the bottom line?
Sir, you know, with all of our funds that we have, limited funds that we have in this district, whether they are general funds with the local funds, or whether they are federal funds, we try to use them to the best of our ability to service all of our children. So no, we would not in any way wait until the last minute to try to use up some funds. We have too many needs for that. So no, that is not the case. But as far as the extended learning and our responsibility to continue the expectations of the grant, when this opportunity became available, the opportunity for this particular conference, considering everything else that was offered, we felt that since this was an international conference and you have the best writers, the developers of Common Core will be there, this is where we can get the best learning to continue what we're already in the process of doing.
Even once the funding is gone, is what you're...
Absolutely. We will have networking opportunities, the best consultants for PD. We will have venues to access those who are actually in the writing process. You get that when you go to something that's organized on an international level.
Okay, please don't skew my words by saying that my comments are against the children, because they are not. You've used the funds for the children, but I'm just speaking of the extra funds that are left on how the teachers are going to finish up whatever funds are left. That's my comment. I'm not worried about the kids. It is not the kids, because the kids are getting what they're supposed to get. You've done your job on that, and I have no problem with that. I'm just speaking of the trips that's being taken here that, and if you just tell me that the funds is just like any government worker who wants to use their funds at the end of the year, I'll shut up.
Well, I am not in any way saying that. I am saying that it is in the best interest for the users of these funds for us to continue the learning practices. Because we cannot ever just not stop learning. That's not what we're in this business for. So no, I'm not saying that, so.
Yes, ma'am. And again, I'm not saying that you're not stop learning. I'm just saying that we only have, you say that it's over with in September, and this is, let's say, May, June, July, we're out of school. So August, September, you have 2 months.
Our work never stops.
No, but the kids won't be in school.
Our
So that's
work-
all I'm saying. I'm just saying, that's all I'm saying. I want the kids to use the money, which you've done a fantastic job on, Ms. Johnson. Okay, let me say that. Okay. But it's just, and again, I'll get off this soap opera and I get off my soapbox. But it just appears to me that this is just the end of the $800,000 that we've used, and now we're just trying to finish up. That's my appearance.
Is this
That's
the
all
end of the
I'll
money?
use.
Are you using the
Yes,
last
this
of
is
that?
absolutely not. No. No, sir. No, ma'am. This is not the end of the money, no.
So how much do we have left?
It starts in here, I know we have at least $150,000 that we have salary money included in that. We still have some tutorial money. We have money to open up summer school to extend the library hours. So we have some additional funds. Now, we have a little supply money. I only reviewed part of that this morning, with Tracy this morning. So there are funds remaining in the grant.
Do we know how much this is gonna cost us to go there? Because all I have is just one sheet. Maybe everybody else has.
I don't have that total cost in front of me, no.
That's one of the things that we always ask for, is how much is the cost. You know, you have to stay, you gotta go down to New Orleans. I just came from New Orleans and I know how much it costs there, but we don't have anything
We
here.
were asked-
So you're asking for a blank ticket for you all to go down there to spend the money. And if I don't see how much it's gonna cost, or an approximate of how much it's gonna cost, then I'm just, maybe everybody else, I'm only one vote.
There is a cost associated with attending the conference?
Yes, it's an international conference.
And it's for,
It's a total conference on literacy.
But it's no cost to the district. It
It is
comes
not.
out of the funding of this grant that you
Everything-
have, and it is not the bottom of the grant. There's still money
Absolutely
left
not.
over
Right.
after the conference.
We have, right now, I know there's planning for I know Vicksburg High School to have extended library hours in all of the schools. So there are things that are already in motion now for extension for the summer. So no, this is not in any way near the bottom of the, where we are. In fact, we were looking today at additional computers, and so there's money left to continue the grant. We have to have it because the grant doesn't end until the 30th. This
Ms.
is
Johnson,
just,
do you have those figures in your office?
I can get an approximate cost.
In how much time?
Depends on who I can reach, because.
15, 20 minutes?
Probably so.
Okay, I move that we table this until the information is brought before the board. We don't like to vote on a carte
I
blanche.
can go get an estimate.
I understand.
Okay, let me get this.
is there a second?
Motion.
Seconded. Y'all ready to vote? All those in favor of tabling this motion until we have the appropriate figures, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Let's take it. Next item, travel for Warren Central Junior ROTC, I believe.
Yes, sir, just one quick question. And I don't even see the principal here, so only thing I need to know in this was if the Navy's gonna reimburse us, or who's paying for this. I don't mind the kids going, I was just curious about the reimbursement. Or if we will get a
The
reimbursement.
Navy usually pays for those NROTC.
Right, but it's not here, it's stated on here, so you can assume that, as we all know what an assumption is like.
Does have until June to do this, so.
Table it next month?
Yeah, next month, decide, unless they have to make plans in advance.
Unless you can find out before we get there.
Table that. So the next one, I'm planning on asking for a table, because he probably walked around and ask him something before we approve 13, so we can closed session and do all these real quickly.
You want to do 8 and 13?
That'd be fine.
We entertain a motion to table 8 and 13.
So moved. Third.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those, are ready to vote? All those in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We have just tabled items F8 and 13. Next item up for consideration that was pulled is item 15. Rick, I think you pulled that one?
I did, thank you, Mr. President. I have one question. Glad Christine is here. I noticed, because this has happened before, on the tax assessor's certificate, the fair market value of the land,
Right.
the amount that is listed for the renewal lease is accurate with that, but then underneath it, it's got the fair market rent as being roughly twice that number, $1,500. And I'm just worried that if we send it off to the Secretary of State with that in there like this, they're going to kick it back to us as they have before if those two numbers don't match up.
Well, no, because we're gonna take 5% of that $1,500. That's the formula that we use to come up with how much they'll pay.
Right, but the 5%, if you notice in the tax assessor certificate, 5% is $15,750, which is the $787 amount that's listed down for the rent. But then if you look right under that, it's got $1,500 fair market rent. And I know because I've dealt with this before, they kicked it back and said, well, we're not sure which one it is. So, maybe we just need a clarification. I think if I read this right, which was intended here is that it should be 787, that 15,750 is the value. And so I guess if we can get the board to approve it with the caveat that the fair market rent as listed in the tax assessor certificate is the same as the amount that we're approving tonight. And if it's not, we can come back and redo it.
And I can take it up to the courthouse and have them correct that.
Okay.
So we're okay to approve it as long, what addition?
We can approve it subject to the rental value being 5% of the $15,750.
Got that, Shannon?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we take care of that in that manner.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, probably second, to approve item 15 under the condition that the rent is verified as 5% of the assessed value. Is that right?
Yes, assessed value of property.
Assessed value of property. Are y'all ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Item 15.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce a special guest tonight that we have not identified. Mark Wise is the president of Vancouver South Bank, and he's bidding on our depository for the school system. He's been a long time public servant in Vicksburg. He's also been a big supporter of public education. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize Mark Wise. So we're glad to have you, Mr. President.
Thank you, He's a handsome gentleman in the orange shirt. Right there.
Homework, Thank you, Mr. Leviza. We appreciate that. Next items on the agenda happen to be personnel. And item G for personnel. A motion?
I'd like, what was G6?
6, okay.
Five, Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
please. That's all I have.
Okay. If those are the only items you wish to discuss, is there a motion to approve the remaining items?
I'm sorry, I was waiting.
Come on.
Yeah, I make a motion that we
Approve
approve the
personnel with the exceptions.
5 and 6.
Is there a second? Stephen's seconded. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. All those items are passed. Now we have for discussion item 5G and G5 personnel.
just one correction, Mr.
Change the
President.
status, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Ms. Johnson's back with her information.
Well, let's finish this.
Yeah, let's wrap
Let's
this up.
let's wrap this up.
We'll move forward.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. Thank you. Just one quick on Mr. McKellar. I think they say that he's replacing Mr. Cooper, but Mr. Belcher actually replaced Mr. Cooper as principal, because Mr. Cooper was the principal. So they have him as replacing him, and if that's the case, then Mr. McKellar would be the principal.
No, we can't have
Okay.
that.
I just wanted to make that note.
I got nothing against Mr. McKellar, but we can't have that.
Okay.
No.
Just wanted to make sure that.
So what are we changing?
So who? Well, then
I don't know who he's replacing, but I just wanted to.
he doesn't
know
know
that.
because
Yeah, that's.
they were there when we got here.
Okay.
And I don't know because they were there when I got
But we're not
Mr.
creating a
Jones
new
got a
position.
here.
He's
No
right
new
about
creation.
We're
No
not creating,
new creation.
but the position is correct, but he's assistant principal's position here.
He's moving from interim to full time.
Oh, yeah, I'm not debating that issue.
I just, yeah, I'm glad. Yes, we don't want no. He don't want that either, do you?
Good catch.
I will fill that in appropriately, whoever that person is.
Any other questions on that?
And the only other thing is, I don't remember, is it just the, Mr. President and Mr. Superintendent, is it just the administrative staff that once you get hired, you're moving to Vicksburg, or is it those that are moving? Because I see we have a lot of persons from Jackson that are
We
coming
don't
here.
have
I'm asking.
any policy that I'm aware of. We have, on the superintendent's contract, we required him to move here, and we strongly encourage everyone to move here, because I personally think it's crazy if you don't want to live in Vicksburg.
Me too.
And you want to waste your gas money and drive back and forth, and maybe we ought to consider not hiring them because of that lack of cerebral capacity. But I don't think there's any requirement of policy at this current time. Yes, sir.
I thought, Mr. President, that we, when Mr. Sheedy came in, that we said that everyone hired after Mr. Sheedy must live in this district.
No, we'd have to draft a policy to say that, and I don't know that we would.
I think we discussed that, but I think we ultimately decided that we just would encourage, we'd probably encourage all of our staff to move here, because it may be dangerous if you.
Because you have current staff that don't.
And I asked that question, and then the response was anybody that's grandfathered. These people were here before.
Right, all the people that were here before need to be grandfathered. But we need to do that because if you do not care enough for these kids, our kids, to be a part of this community, then
I can see it both ways in certain positions, and there might be other positions where people couldn't move. I think you would shorten our pool so much that we would be drawing from a very shallow trough if we did that. I personally would like to encourage every person to live in Vicksburg, but I just don't know that we would have to pass a policy to do that. And I don't think we currently have a policy that states that. I think superintendent is a requirement, should be a requirement.
And I would like to say, whether it was in my contract or not, I'm coming, I was coming, and we have gotten an offer accepted on a house, completely got nothing to do with anything. We're so elated to get the possibility to get out of an apartment. So 3 boys in an apartment just don't mix.
Well, you know, the majority of the board supports that. I'm in favor of myself, so that's 3 of us that are emphatic about it. If you don't love Vicksburg, we want you to love Vicksburg.
Exactly right.
We're building a community. We're building a coalition of strong public education support. You need to live here, pay taxes here, do business here, and learn the people here.
So any other further discussion on item 5, G5?
No, sir, I'd like to make a motion to accept item G5.
We have a motion and a second, properly seconded. Ready to vote?
Ready.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Seeing as none, motion carries. Coaching, position changes in status, under personnel is the next item for discussion.
Yeah, I want to know a little about, are we creating a new position, someone has left?
There were, which were all of these? None of these were all budgeted positions that were never filled. And the new football coach, I think, has asked for one of those positions. But these are replacement of existing. Yes, sir.
Approve G first, G six.
Second.
I have one real quick question or comment, if I may. Can we verify that when we're giving coaching supplements, that the coaching supplement or duties that they're performing don't overlap with multiple sports? Because it's hard if you're getting a supplement to be the basketball coach and there's another sport going on.
During same season.
Same season, because that seems like you can't focus, if we're paying that person to focus their attention on that sport, it doesn't seem fair. Coach, I don't know, is there an example where you wouldn't mind doing that? But I would think if you're the basketball coach, you need to be focusing on basketball, not on track.
In season, right?
Yeah, that's right. So can we verify that we're doing that?
Sure.
Will we do this in the future? All right, thank y'all for entertaining my question. And we have a motion properly seconded to approve items G6. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Seeing as none, motion carries. And we have, do we want to do now the law policy?
What about the ones at the table? I've got an answer for my one.
All right, let's go ahead, if y'all don't mind, to make a motion to bring forth untable for discussion. Yep, 7 and which other did we take?
H.
I think we need to vote on Ms. Johnson.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
That's what we're doing right now.
Oh, okay.
We got to untable it. We have.
Oh, okay.
Make a motion that we re-enter number 7,
We have 7. Was it
remove
what?
it from the table.
Remove it from the table.
7 and 8.
All
Are we
right.
doing both of them?
We can. Do we have
Do you
data
have
on
to-
both of
Do
them?
you have to?
Oh, yes, it is reimbursed.
Okay, we'll bring untable both
7,
of
8.
them.
Second.
We have motion properly second to untable F7 and 8. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We now have untabled those items. We're taking one at a time for discussion. Item 7, out-of-state travel. Ms. Johnson, did you have an update of the cost of that travel?
Yes. This is an estimate, but it's what I have is exact. The registration fee, if there were 4 people that were scheduled to go, is $400. Well, actually, it's $399 per person,
Okay.
which would be approximately $1,600. And we had already previously agreed to share rooms. So the hotel fee is approximately $200 a night, pending we can get a hotel within that range. I'm sure we can, which would be a total of $1,600. Let me also say to the board, the people that have committed to doing this, if granted, this happens to be on Mother's Day weekend. Every single one of the teachers is a mother of a young child, her first child, and she said to me, this will be my first time ever not sleeping with my child at home. So these are not people who are not concerned about learning and being committed to Vicksburg One School District Northern kids. These are people who are very, very committed and very dedicated. I just needed to make that statement. Now, with that being said, the total cost, the estimated cost of the hotel and the registration would be about $3,200, not to include, of course, food and travel. And I'm sure that 2 of the ladies don't drive on the holidays, and so we would probably have to go together. So we were trying to minimize costs from the beginning. Now, I don't have the exact cost of food and travel, but whatever the state allocated amount is, would be the range for whatever those fees are. Bottom line, $3,200 with, give or take whatever it is, the estimate of, and food and travel.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Mr. Shealy, you
Are you gonna miss any work days? I know it's on a weekend, but are you gonna also miss a Friday?
We
or
would have to
Monday?
leave, yes, it would start on a Friday, and it ends on Monday, so it would travel that Monday. And those would be, it would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Always good to point that out, because we have a
Yes.
system to run here, which gets the first choice
Right.
of your time, so, thank you.
And Mr. Shealy, my only question would be, you find value in this?
Absolutely.
I have no further questions.
Based on the recommendation of the superintendent, I move that we approve this out-of-state travel for.
Is there a second?
program.
I second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay, Sturgis.
Motion carries. Item number F8, which was out-of-state travel for the Warren Central ROTC,
They are reimbursed by the Navy.
full cost.
Full cost.
Move
No
we
cost to
accept
the
the
district.
item
No
A.
cost to the district.
Second.
They have an account that's reimbursable, so the cost will be there, but they will be reimbursed after.
So your motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and a second. You ready to vote?
Ready.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Could I take just a second to clarify the other issue? Antonio Cooper was the assistant principal that was named interim principal. So the position of the assistant principal that Mr. Keller actually took was Antonio Cooper's position.
Say that again, I'm sorry. I was
The
asleep.
Antonio Cooper, and this is going back in time, Antonio Cooper was the assistant principal. Y'all named him the interim principal. So the assistant principalship that Mr. McKellar took, he became the interim assistant principal for Mr. Antonio Cooper's assistant principalship. So when he became, we're making the recommendation for him to move from interim to full-time, which would have been the full-time position of Antonio Cooper, not Antonio Cooper's position of principal. Is that clarified? Okay. So that was the correct document. So, I'm glad you clarified that I want him to stay.
He's glad to.
I will say that, I apologize for making that mistake.
No, it's a good
I'm
thing
not
to
doing
bring
it
it.
to apologize.
No, it's a good thing to bring it up, though. We don't ask questions, we're never gonna know.
That's all right.
All right, we're now down to H, log policy review.
Oh, I apologize. There was one policy that was out there, said just,
The vacancy.
yes, that is correct. Ultimately, what I asked to move that minimum time to 7 days, and for classified staff to not be included in that.
And we did that recommendation last time, so this policy is set for 30 days.
That's correct.
And you're now bringing it to a vote.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And is that it?
I did speak to school board council before in order to clarify how that needed to be done to get what we needed to do. Because we were running into time frames of the school board meetings and we called for emergency.
This was policy GBCA, and we struck the wording of professional and non-professional, and just said license, changing the vacancy must be advertised for a minimum of 7 days, which previously it was 14 days, except in the case of extreme emergencies to be determined by the superintendent. Those are the only changes to policy. Any other discussion or questions related to that? Seeing as none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the new policy.
Second. We have a motion properly second. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Policy is approved. Next item would be our executive session items. We entertain a motion at this time to go into closed session to determine the agenda for executive session.
I'll make a motion, we go into closed session to determine the agenda for executive session.
Second.
There's a motion to properly second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are going into closed session.